I went into the studio and I saw most of the musicians there I didn't know, I had worked with before. And then there were a few first call players that I hadn't met before. So I'm proud to be there. I'm new into been in town maybe a year, and there was a part of the music, a lot of music, the music was long, where we had to use maybe at least 3 music stands to spread it out rather than to worry about turning pages while we're playing. And there was a part, everything was notated except for about maybe 14, maybe 18 or so bars where he just had a chord changes. Nothing was written. So my New York attitude in me at that time, I wanted the new guy, I want everybody to see that I was there. I raised my hand to ask a question. And I asked him, you haven't written anything here. What do you want me to play? And I mentioned you want me to walk the bass, just 4/4/4, or blah, blah, blah. And he said in front of everybody, if we wanted somebody to walk, we would have hired Ray Brown. Oh, you hanging out right? Oh, you hanging out right? Hanging out right? Oh, you hanging out right? I know, hanging out right? Oh, you hanging out right? If we wanted somebody to walk, we would have hired Ray Brown. He was a very famous bass player known for walking. Now I could walk. I played a lot of jazz and blah, blah, blah. And so like kind of hurt my feelings in front of everybody. The guys around me went, when they said they would have hired Ray Brown. So we started recording the song, excuse me, when we got to the part where he had nothing written, I played everything I knew. I mean, I didn't walk, but I played all kinds of stuff. After it was over, I looked up at him and he pulled his glasses down and he went, meantime, because I'm enjoying, whenever I play, I'm always listening to the music around me. I play to the music because I don't want any other musician to feel uncomfortable if I'm playing, because I'm playing the bass, the bottom bass. So I always play with what I hear. On the break, the guitar player said, that's why you were hired. When there's nothing written, you're supposed to play what you feel. Although I was embarrassed for him calling me down in front of the whole orchestra, because that's why you were hired. Now, and talking about what we're talking about, I play with the orchestra. Like sometimes when I play, I think of a guitar part that I used to play or someone else played, and I'll incorporate that thought into my bass pattern. Or I'll hear the horns play a particular lick, and it makes me think of something to play. So now I'm involved in something that I have no control over, other than what I'm playing. Virtual reality, I can sort of make the horns play what I want them to play, or what I think they should play. And I'm not going to get fired if it's wrong. So it would give me or any player a chance to have another option of pretending. When I'm playing jazz, I pretend sometimes like I'm walking down a cabbage patch or anything that has a groove. Cotton patch, anything that has a furrow. A groove is a long, continuous furrow. And I'm just playing along that furrow. If I want to change directions, I can't if I work for hire. But virtuality, I can say, I'm going to go to B flat over here, or I'm going to do something over here, that kind of thing. So that's going to be new for me, very new for me. But I'm willing to give it a try because I see where it's going. I see where it's going. And I like to know something about it. I would also like to enjoy it. I may not enjoy it, because my habit is to play with other people, with a conductor, the person who has written the music, and to follow suit. That's what my habit has been during my career. If I'm going to pretend to do something different, it is pretense in my den here, where I just sit back and pretend, or if I on the keyboard or on the bass do something, but there's nobody else around me. It's just Chuck making this stuff up. So I'm very interested in getting into look at what you guys have done, what you ladies have done. You know,
Yeah.
John, you know I'm long-winded. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, yeah, you did. I think it's interesting that we can kind of, or you can sort of see the potential that, for example, you were talking about Easter eggs, Althea, or things like that, but also the potential of the idea that you might have alternative endings to a piece, or whatever, or at some point you can direct, you're playing a song or you're playing a game or you're conducting it or whatever it is. At some point I can see, I can be the virtual bass player on this session, and then you make your own choices of what you want to do, or if you're the conductor, I see, there's interaction. So you saw in the video, you can control the dynamics, you can miscue, which changes the whole sync of all the music and things like that. It's going to be really interesting, but especially now in the middle of a pandemic. Thank goodness, we've got the vaccines coming, but it's going to be a while before a student will have the luxury, which at the time we didn't know was a luxury, but the luxury of being able to sit with 50 people and make music. It's not going to be a thing for a while. It's not going to be a thing to actually go sit and watch a symphony for a while. So this might be the closest thing people get to experiencing that, if ever again, really.
Well, they're
I
doing
have, I have seen interviews with the New York Times with people when they were asked, when will you be comfortable going back to watching shows, symphony orchestras, and some of them said never, which is really alarming to me. As a musician, as a performer, to hear that some people would never feel confident, like comfortable being in big places, that should alarm all of us. And we have been getting some calls from symphony orchestras that found that we have a solution that we didn't even plan for it. We didn't think about approaching actual places, but it's coming. 100%.
Well, I'm one of those people who, well, I never really go out that much anyway, unless I'm performing. But now the things are the way that they are, and I see where it's going. I've already seen 4 concerts online. So I did not have to get in my car, drive to Dallas, park it, pay for parking, go in around a lot of people, sit and have to stay. I'm at home. I didn't have to spend time traveling. I wasn't not around a lot of people. When I wanted to go get a drink of water, I just got up and went. I wasn't around people. So like, especially with the pandemic, and the older you are, the you're more susceptible of getting this virus. So like, I'm one of those people who basically would rather stay at home and watch a concert, unless it's for a friend or I get invited to a show. But around, like Charlie Pride just died, and the only place he's been was the CMA Awards, where he was around people. When they got back, they said he was tested and he was clean, he was clear. Well, of course, the way this virus is, but today he's dead. And last week, this time, he was alive. And all he did, I don't think he sang. He was just there around people who were not wearing masks. So I'm one of those people, I would rather stay at home if I can. And probably virtually, I can enjoy myself, virtually. Although I'm sort of kind of, my habit is to join you and do what you want to do, like join an orchestra where there's a leader and a song, a contractor and an artist. And now I'm just the bass player. I sort of kind of like that because I'm a crazy Gemini. I will sit down and once I get, if I really like this equipment, I'm going to go crazy. You know, it's something that's unrealistic. I know that I will, although, you know, I wouldn't say that I'm not going to go crazy. I know that I will from there, but I can go many different ways. You know, so good, the idea, because with sports, you can even become a millionaire by going online, going on TV, and have your own team, pick your own team, play against somebody else, and win a lot of money. And people are doing that.
Esports is a big thing.
You know. So in music, the same thing. Same thing. As you can actually, and you don't have to worry about getting fired. Or
That's
replaced.
funny. My mind is, you know, it's funny. Shirley, you just mentioned something about the orchestras. Like, well, first of all, they were already struggling trying to make budgets and get funds, but they're finding you because you have a potential solution that you hadn't had in mind. Uh, we've been talking with Soundfi, which I mentioned earlier. They make the binaural microphones, and they had come up with a solution. It wasn't a new solution. It was this new cool app where you could go to the movie theater, and they would have these major movie studios mix down the audio for the movie uh, so that you could experience like surround sound with headphones on. So there were certain theaters, select theaters, that were rolling this thing out, where you download on your phone, you tell it what movie you're going to go see, and it would automatically preload the soundtrack to the movie and sync it. And when you go to the movie theater, you put on your headphones, and now you're in the theater watching on the big screen, but you don't have to hear people talking, coughing, chewing, you know, popcorn or candy, opening wrappers, talking. You put on your headphones, and it's a virtual surround sound mix. And it was really amazing. But the pandemic got in the way of their big rollout, and because movie theaters weren't open. So they had to reposition. And so they started doing the thing on Lemonade TV, which is the virtual concerts. And so they've been bringing in this microphone, this whole rig that Chuck came and saw it the other day. We've been having in our studio these concerts, and they put the rig in there, and we get the mix, but we also have that 360 mic, or the binaural mic.
Mhm.
And when you watch the show on the broadcast on Lemonade TV, you put on your headphones, and it sounds like you're standing in the room. It's mind blowing. So it's just, again, they had no idea that this is what they were going to do with that technology, but it made
Yeah,
it possible.
facialization and 360 content is something that we've been trying to push for a while, and I think that the pandemic was exactly what the VR world needed, to push more people to get devices, to see this as a personal device that we all use just like a phone. But I know that before the pandemic, a lot of people said, well, I don't know, maybe it's the time to buy VR, maybe I should wait until it stabilizes a little bit. And the pandemic just gave it the right push to the right direction.
Unfortunately, yes. It was unfortunate that it took the pandemic.
Unfortunately, but we have to look at the silver lining.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
There are actually a lot of silver linings. You know, I really think so. But
A lot of innovation.
what I know I don't want to turn this into kind of a gender thing at all, but I'm gonna ask a question, and that is, I know in the last few years, a lot of educators have been trying to encourage uh, young ladies, I'm talking, school age, grammar school, middle school age kids, 13 years old, to get more interested in pursuing STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, to get them more interested in these subjects, because it's always been sort of a thing that boys, put them in the robotics class and the girls will put them in home economics, whatever. But now we're starting to see more females get interested and get involved and actually push the STEM subjects, science,
Yeah.
technology.
Mhm.
They're becoming leaders more often. We're starting to see that. And so what the question is actually, which is again, it's a weird question to even talk about. But for any young ladies who are interested in technology and perhaps their role and maybe their because of their worldview or whatever, what can you say that might encourage more women to enter technology as a career path? And
I
if the
would
question
say
is
just
off
look
base,
around. Yeah, I would say just look around. Look at all of the female leaders around us, in innovation, in technology, in sciences, director of NASA. It's really just incredible. Just look around at all these people. They could do it. We can too. It's not that far off. It's all what you believe you're able to do and what effort you're willing to put in.
Agreed.
You
I
too.
actually just last week, no, 2 weeks
Yeah.
ago, I had a talk with the organizers of some of the MIT hackathons. And one of
Mm.
them, who have been to like many events in MIT and is an MIT graduate, she said, 20 years ago, if you go to computer science, it's all Mark Zuckerberg's. They all look the same. They all get the same degrees in computer science. They all think the same. But now the world of tech, computer science, engineering is open to so many things that are not necessarily just understanding coding languages. It's about art and design and creative thinking. And it's so many skills that are right now missing in the tech world, and people are trying to find more talents to join.
Yeah.
So it's not just about computers. It's not just about writing code. It's not looking like a hacker that you see on TV with like 10,000 screen popping at you. Do you know this image? It's like, it never
Yeah.
looks like this in real life.
No.
I agree with Althea. We have great examples today of women leading the industry and showing new ways of doing things and new approaches to things. In the video game community as well, by the way. It started only for boys, and all the games were designed for boys, and you were
Yeah.
only playing a boy that is shooting other boys. But we are seeing new indie developers and new games that are targeted to other populations, because we understand
Yeah.
that it's not just, yeah.
yeah. I mean, just look at the Nobel Prize winners that designed the CRISPR technology for cutting, DNA splicing.
Yeah.
And so that's why the reason I brought the question up is I'm wondering, because I noticed that a lot of the technology is driven by females. A lot of the new ideas, Chuck always brings that up when we have business meetings. We have to have the female perspective always. You got to have the female voice. You need it. And so, and we know the world isn't always, it's not just binary. We know that it's not either or. But I'm wondering if that question is actually outdated, or that observation is kind of like misinformed or old, because I hear it brought up a lot when I talk to educators. They'll say, oh, we need more girls in STEM. And I'm saying, like Althea kind of said, look around. They already are. What world do you live in? Like, do you not see it? I see it. That's just me. I guess maybe because
Yeah.
I'm around. a
I
lot of
agree.
very,
I think it really depends where you are. It depends where you grew up. I think that Althea and I grew up in places that are a little bit less prone to like female leaders.
A little, yeah.
A little bit, you know, a little bit. We felt this pressure.
Yeah.
But again, there are a lot of conversations that are going around this, even like things like women maybe should have their own facilities to learn because they're a little bit intimidated by men. I don't think it's the right way to go. I think that combining everyone and just giving everyone a fair chance. That's mainly,
that is the answer.
that's mainly what feminism was all about from the beginning. It's let me prove to you that I can. And let me do whatever you're doing to prove to you that I can.
Yeah.
I'll say this, and I really mean it. I really have always. I come from a family of a lot of women. My mother had 9 sisters, and most of them had girls. So I had 9 aunts. Actually, I had more than that because that's my mother's side of the family. What I've found is also in any industry, also in coming up as a human being, women nurture. And in nurturing, there's a skill in nurturing. A woman musician nurtures the music a little different than men do, I think. Men control the music, basically, but women sort of nurture the music. I've been nurtured. Um, Women nurture and men control, basically. Now, that's not always the case, but in the music and also too in tech, in any industry, I would always want to hear a woman's point of view, even if I disagree. Because, like I said, musically, as a human being, I've been nurtured. Also, I've been controlled. You know, the whole thing is, the whole thing about it is the yin and yang to everything. And every band that I put together, I always try and put a woman in the band who's usually a piano player. Um, because I just feel and hear something that I would not hear honestly from a man. It's not always that case. But when it comes to technology, the same thing. Women put a little different slant on things. Every year, I put up the tree, I put the lights on the tree, and the family, before the kids left home, they all put their ornaments on, and I wrap the tree. We've had beautiful trees ever since I can remember. Beautiful trees. This Christmas, I put the tree up, I put the lights on it, and she dressed the tree all by herself and told me how to wrap it. I let her do it. The guys that'll be listening, understand sometimes you got to do what the woman asks you to do, especially if you trust it. This is the prettiest tree that we've had because it was all her input, where it has always been all my input. Now, of course, they always added a little stuff to it when I put it up. So I'm saying all this to say is that when it comes to technology, any profession, I've always been interested in the woman's input. One more quick thing that I don't mind saying. My mother worked for Social Security. She had a very high status, I think a grade 7. She had four secretaries. And she ran her department, speeches, everything like that. She did everything. She nurtured her office. But basically, her job was to teach men how to be her boss. She said that several times. That she had 4 secretaries, she ran the department, but she didn't run there was always a man overseeing, but she did all the work. And of course, she didn't say it the way I'm saying it, but I noticed that all over. All of my aunts ran the house for the man that was there. They controlled the house, but the women nurtured the house. So I'm saying all this from a good feeling. I really mean what I'm saying. Women have always been used. Of course, musicians are used, but women have a certain point of view about things, even if it seems a little cuckoo, you know, which to us men sometimes it does. However, if the woman is trained in what she's doing, her input is very, very interesting. Um, it's a different view. Like I feel about this year's tree. This year's tree is just beautiful. It's not the way I would have done it.
We're gonna have to let these brilliant minds go and do their thing very soon. So, uh, last point I wanted to make, and I know you got to go, Althea. It's getting late over there. What about the implications for of this technology for performance? Besides,
Yeah.
gamifying and all that, but we see, it's the we can see the opportunities there for educational use. But what about actual performance?
Yeah, I have thought a lot about this and been part of several projects that explored different ones. The Dream Machine from Berkeley, the EPD department was one of them. And the question is always, do we perform ourselves? So me, the singer, am I in VR as well as the audience? And how do I then perceive them? Do I get any input? Because like as a performer myself, I love to look at people's faces and see how do they react to what I'm doing and then adjust. And so it's really a two-way communication. And so the question is, how do you represent audiences? What is that experience like? And yeah, what is the society then that we create around virtual performances? Because it's really that connection that I think we all crave. And so with VR, we have tried to make them representations of avatars or like little photos of just your face like we are right now. But I think we'll really see in the next few years the technology come through and that we can really in VR then see your faces. I think this is important. What do
Yeah.
you think, Shirley?
We were exploring some routes, I don't want to say too much, but of playing an instrument in our symphony orchestra.
Yeah.
We were exploring this idea and trying to understand how to implement this, but I think one of the talks we had with Berkeley and with other schools as well is that a lot of things work online, and now we know that we can have meetings online and we can have interviews online, but something was missing. And one of the things that everyone said that was missing is the non-generated things that are happening while you're in college. It's not sitting in a class, but it's meeting someone in a hallway, hearing, hey, there's a cool
Yeah.
show down that hallway, you want to come with me? It's those like, instant interactions that don't happen through Zoom because you have to like, initiate a call, schedule the time that everyone is available. So some part is missing going online. Not everything is recreatable in virtual reality or with computer science. Um, and I think that part of live performance is missing here, but we're trying to bring a different interaction with it. Not to
Yeah.
take from the reality, but to enhance something else.
I think that's really cool, and I think that's what my question really was about was, uh, and to Althea's point, the whole thing, and Chuck knows this too. The whole thing about live performance is the interaction with the audience. I mean, I could play at home or we could play in the studio all day long, but it's never the same as when you're sitting in front of an audience. And to me, the hardest audiences are always the small ones. The more intimate the audience, or more intimate the
The
environment,
most scary. You're like, oh.
yeah, the more
Yeah,
nerve-wracking the performance is because I can see their eyes,
exactly.
as
Yeah.
playing Carnegie Hall where I can't see the front row. Oh, I see our lights.
Yeah.
That's easy
Yeah.
because I can pretend I'm alone. But so, but what you're bringing up to me then, or the interesting point that you brought up to me, is that maybe it's not about recreating what's possible already, but to actually create a whole new type of interaction, a whole new performance space, environment, and experience that is beyond realistic or
It
almost
is
like
what
hyper
we're going
realistic.
to. And honestly, with our app,
Yeah, that's
I would
pretty.
be curious, with our app, I would be curious to see how many people that have played VRSO would actually go to see a symphony orchestra and would actually understand what is going on. Because usually young people don't go to listen to classical music because they don't get it. And they ask us, what do you do as a conductor? Is it just waving your hands? But if you know what the conductor does, because you've tried it in the game, would it make you actually go and see a concert?
Wow. Oh, that's interesting.
Very
We
well
still
said.
don't have those numbers because we haven't tested it on people, but hopefully soon enough to open the world.
Really soon.
Really?
Soon come, soon come. You never know.
Yeah.
Any last words, Chuck, before we let them do
It's a
their
pleasure listening to you ladies talk about what you're doing. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm very interested. Not to say that I'm going to embrace it or like it, because my career is, I've been playing for over 60 years. Well, about 60 years. I'm trying to stretch it. I'm trying to be too old. But the whole thing is like, I am very interested in seeing with the young generation what it's going to be. I'm very interested. So it's a pleasure meeting both of you.
Thank you for having us.
Having us.
Thank you so very much for taking your time out. Right here is it's 3:15 here. So you guys
Here.
I appreciate
Quarter after 11.
So it's a pleasure. I hope to meet you personally soon.
Hopefully.
Yes, you guys, of course, Althea, when you come back to the States, and always you, Shirley, you guys are definitely invited to come to the studio.
Thank you.
Thank
That
you.
would be
We will.
lovely.
I'm really hoping you
Yeah.
guys get to come.
Bring
Thank
me
you so
to-
much. Thank
That'd
you
be
for
great.
having us.
Thank you.
Stay
Bye.
safe.
Do so many people need to learn about music? And I understand what you're saying, Chuck, but I couldn't help but think of my brother. He's passed away now, but he was older than me. His music teacher told him he'd never make it, and so my brother gave up. Now, of all things, he was studying the accordion, and for an accordion teacher to tell somebody they're not going to make it, there's kind of an odd
Oh my God.
something about. It's not quite an oxymoron, but unpoetic justice. And I always felt bad.
Hey everyone, my name is Jerry Robert and I'm the publisher at Black Card Books, and I'm telling you, we have just published this book, The Tune of Success, Unmasking Your Genius, by two musical geniuses who have played bass and played drums and contributed to lots of different albums, playing with Steely Dan, Quincy Jones, Aretha Franklin. I mean, these are two legends in the music industry, and if you've ever wondered about how you break into the music industry, and it's a business, it goes well beyond just talent. It's a business. This book will help you do it, and there's no book like it, and that's why we at Black Card Books could not be happier to have published this book. And if you are interested, or you know somebody who's interested in the music business, get yourself a copy and get them a copy right away. Guys, we are all excited about this. We know this is going to become an international bestseller, and it's going to help a lot of people go to the next level in the music business.